You may have noticed that you are drinking less, and the people around you are drinking less as well. Is it purely your imagination, or has something actually changed? Well, based on the recent evidence coming out of the US, it seems that people are drinking less. We're going to look at the statistics, and critically, I'm going to explain to you why I think this is occurring. What is happening with you and everyone around you that would make such an impact in terms of what really is going on? So, this here is the study, the Gallup study, looking in the United States, published in the 13th of August 2025, looking at drinking rates at a new low as alcohol concerns surge. So they're going through a number of points here, and I'll just be showing you some of the graphs. Looking here, for instance, the use of alcoholic beverages from 1939 to 2025 is at the lowest it has ever been, 54%. The peak below that, 55% in 1958. 56% in 1989. This is as low as it goes. What really is going on? So there was an interesting post on this that was done by Mark Hyman, and I think he did some good slides. So I'm going to be sharing those slides with you. And what he showed here is that America is going sober. But I don't think it's just America. I think it's the world is going sober. So it shows that only 54% of Americans consume alcohol today, lowest rate they've seen in 90 years. In 2021, it was 67%, 2023, 62%, 2024, 54%. This is a rapid drop off post pandemic. Look at that. It was 67% in 2022. And then suddenly, within 3 years, it has dropped to the lowest level it has ever been. If you understand this, you'll be able to explain it to people as well. So, this is the value with regards to understanding what is going on. Now, there's some changes in terms of the age group of people who are noticing these things. So, young adults are driving the change, primarily 50% of those aged 18 to 34, down from 72% in 2004. So, this is one part of it. Women as well. Women have gone down to 51% from where men were at 62%. And seems to be related to maybe hormonal issues. 54% of, among the 54% of those who still drink, only 24% had alcohol yesterday. That is a record low. And 40% haven't touched it in a week. The average is 2.8 drinks weekly, which is the lowest since 1996. What in the world is going on? And again, I take you back to something that is very important. Look carefully at this chart. Okay, look at this. This was steady since 1999, 2000, up and down, up and down, up and down. Even there was a slight drop in 2021, a pandemic period. It immediately rebounds to 2022, and then it dramatically falls off to 2025, and this trend is going to continue going down. What in the world is going on? So this is now where I take the observations and put them into science. And I'll explain to you why, based on my research, I think this is happening. And it's not complicated. So here is the science, because I did a whole presentation on this, brain fog like being alcohol intoxication. So if you're interested, look in the description below. But here are some of the slides from it that are relevant. When we look at the brain, this here is the brain in the head. This is the cross section. So the brain is now cut in half down the middle. And what you have to look at is this area here. Now, this is the cerebellum, which controls the smoothness of your movements. And there's an area here that's very important. This is the brain stem, where all of the wiring from the brain is going down into the spinal cord, a very important part of the brain. And what I want you to notice is this triangle here that we call the fourth ventricle. It's a space filled with fluid, what we call cerebrospinal fluid. And this is likely, in my view, to be the critical thing, because that brain stem is like a highway. This is where all of the roads intersect. And so if anything is going wrong in this section, it slows down everything all the way around. And this is the point that I'm making. So you have to understand a few things about the brain. And when it comes to alcohol intoxication, this is where it sits at. So when we look at this, what we see here is the stages that happens when somebody's getting intoxicated. First, they're a bit relaxed. Then they can get a bit euphoric. Then they start to have slurred speech. Then they get a bit confused. Then when they're really drunk, they start vomiting and getting drowsy. And then if they keep drinking, they can die. And what you have to look carefully at is the areas that are connected with the early symptoms and the late symptoms are in the brain stem, which is what I'd highlighted before. This is absolutely critical. And something has changed there. So you have to understand a little bit about alcohol. Whichever way you take it, the reason why alcohol causes an impact on the brain is because it technically is a toxin. It's not something your brain likes. It doesn't use it for energy. And usually, if you are pouring alcohol in the brain, this is my description as to how it is. You have the alcohol, you drink it, it gets to the brain, it is converted from acetaldehyde into acetate. But this transition, depending on how fast it's being consumed, you can get a buildup of this. This is where the symptoms, or in some people, the pleasure is with regards to this alcohol, because it causes a little bit of swelling in the brain in some specific cells in the brainstem. We call them astrocytes. And this is all in the course. And I'm just jumping through it quickly, but I'm highlighting that this part of the brain is absolutely critical. And where we are sitting is this tent, the fourth ventricle. You can see this is the cerebellum here. This is the blood vessels, what we call the choroid plexus. And so what I predict is happening is that this area here, which is sitting right on top of the brain stem, alcohol is concentrated in this area, which is why we have so many symptoms around the brain stem early on in alcohol intoxication. So the question is, if that's the case, why is it, therefore, that people are drinking less? What is the connection? Here is the reality. Since the pandemic, a lot of people, that area of the brain, in the brainstem, and I'm literally doing a paper about this, has become a little bit inflamed. This is why they're struggling with sleep. They feel a little bit leggy, a little bit confused. It's almost as if they have a very subtle, mild tipsiness that is ongoing all the time. And if that's the case, their capacity to tolerate the alcohol impacting that part of the brain is already lowered. Additionally, for a lot of people, their liver is not processing as well. And so normally your liver will break down the alcohol. But if it's not processing as well and your brain is a bit more sensitive, what then happens is that people then start to get negative symptoms. Instead of just being euphoric, they get these hangovers. They start to feel unwell with it. And this is what is making people stop drinking so quickly. And here is the evidence of it in the Gallup poll. Look at this. When they looked at the perceived health effects of moderate drinking, okay, you can see here that good for health, makes no difference, bad for health. And you can see here, makes no difference, stable, 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 2018, drops a little, starts to drop around the pandemic, and then rapidly falls off 24, 25. Similarly, if you're looking bad for health, you can see again this rapid increase. 53% think it's bad for health in 2025. And when we say good for health, only 6%, and that's falling. So you can see this rapid transition that people are thinking is bad for their health. It is not making any difference, is falling, or good for health. How in the world could this have changed so dramatically in just 2 to 3 years? It's because so many people are feeling sick when they have it. The alcohol companies can't understand it. Why the heck? What's going on? We had built our systems for people drinking this much consistently and hopefully increasing it gradually. Suddenly now, people can't tolerate it. If you used to drink 6 cans or 6 pints of lager, depending on where you are, and you could hold that before you started to get a bit drunk, now you can only do 4. And for people who used to do 4, they can only do 2 or 3. So everybody is being impacted in this way. And this is especially relevant around holiday periods. You need to help people and guide them to realize that the truth is they just can't handle the alcohol anymore. And I know what that feels like, because it's not that I don't drink. I know I can't handle alcohol. Give me 1 glass of wine and it starts to go to my head. I literally, clearly don't absorb alcohol. This has always been the case. For me, it's not any different now. But for those people who had never had that experience, who when they now drink start to feel sick, and even with normally 3 cans of beer or lager, they are now getting a hangover the next day. This is what is having that impact on people not drinking. And you can see the final slide I'll show you from the Gallup here is perception alcohol is bad for your health by age. 18 to 34, 66%. 35 to 54, that is now up to 50%. And older than 55 is 48%. Look at the rise since 2023. It was always going up somewhat in the younger people. People were starting to have a little, but then there is this rapid rise since 2023. And so what we're seeing here is that a lot of people are struggling to cope with it. If you are one of those people, don't push it. Just accept it. It doesn't mean you can't have any, but certainly moderate it significantly. And please, if you try to get drunk, just remember what's going to happen to your brainstem. It will take longer for it to recover, and the hangover is likely to be worse. At the end of the day, the truth is that alcohol is and always has been a toxin for the brain. Maybe it's a good thing that people are starting to moderate alcohol a lot better. So if you are interested in more information, look in the description below. This is where not only do you understand the trends, but now you should be able to explain it to family and friends as to why they are drinking so much less. Don't discourage them. It's actually probably to their benefit. Have a good evening.
A hero, an immune adventure, Humming Heroes, your lyrical guide to the body's defenders. Now on Amazon. Check the links below.